Sooner recruiting and football news with Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000 or text the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
Well, that is us, and this is Thursday. Here on Locked In, you're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Man, what a Thursday it has been thus far. We got lunch courtesy of The Standard in Norman, 315 East Gray Street. You can check them out at 405-999-0430 or thestandardnorman.com. Trivia every Thursday night. So, hey, there is trivia tonight as well as Sweet 16 action, March Madness on all of their TVs. Burgers, wings, tenders, wraps. You can go to thestandardnorman.com for their full menu. I was partial to the lemon pepper wings earlier, Grayson. Those were some delicious lemon pepper wings.
I hate that you're not a Buffalo guy because the Buffalo wings were just as good.
Yeah, see, it was a calculated decision on my part because I don't dislike Buffalo, but I don't love Buffalo. It was more a question of, okay, what do I want to reserve stomach space for? And Buffalo was probably the last thing among the available options that I was going to go with.
Okay, fair.
And so listen, I went back for seconds, and I think I might have gone back for thirds with those lemon pepper wings. They were delicious.
Do you like? I know better than to ask you if you season your food because I've had your cooking. You season your food.
Yes,
you do. Now, do you like spicy food though?
See, I do like spicy food. I don't like super spicy food. Like, there's a point at which there is too much spice for me to handle, and that's my breaking point. That's where I'm out.
Okay.
But I do like a little bit of sizzle.
Okay.
Speaking of which, Blake Gamble, our YouTube producer here in the Buffalo Wild Wings studios, I guess heard our conversation at the beginning of yesterday's show about nicknames.
Oh yeah, he told me
about
this.
He decided to have an AI bot suggest nicknames for everyone at the station.
Oh.
We're not going to roll through everyone at the station here, but AI did recommend that we refer to you as G Sizzle.
G Sizzle. You know what? Fine.
G Sizzle? I mean, you think it's preferable to G Freaky?
Yes.
G Baby?
Sure. Which, by the way, speaking of Blake, he told me supposedly G Baby was a character from, I can't remember which movie. He told me this like 2 hours ago, and I don't remember what movie it was.
This AI bot spit out Thunezilla and the Thune Master for me.
The Thune Master.
See, it feels kind of boilerplate.
Yeah.
This particular AI bot lacks some creativity in my mind. But there you go. If you want to slap a nickname on me, there are some suggestions right there.
Reformed Homer on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. It's the Tawdry Parker hour.
This hour shouldn't be too tawdry. I never know where the hour is going to take us at the outset. Who knows? But this shouldn't be an overly tawdry hour. Hey, congratulations to your alma mater, picking up a commitment from Caden Jones yesterday, the 4-star running back out of Jenks, Oklahoma.
Are you just going to do this to me every single day? Are we just going to try to get me off on the wrong foot with,
pretty
with
much,
the listeners?
Pretty much. No shock that you're a Buffalo guy, given your love for orange.
I genuinely hate you right now. Why are you doing this?
Caden Jones commits to Oklahoma State yesterday afternoon. Again, expected. We talked about it for a couple days leading up to it, but he's off the board. Oklahoma will now have to set their focus elsewhere at the running back position. This hour is primarily for OU football and recruiting news. Quite frankly, there is not a whole lot of OU football news right now. There is recruiting news, and we'll dig into some of it, but the football news is, the team's practicing. They're going to scrimmage on Saturday. We're 2 weeks and change out from the Crimson Combine. And then we get to enter the desert once again. the 4-month-long desert wandering of navigating sports talk in Norman, Oklahoma, when there is no football. No football actively occurring. Now, as we look forward to the scrimmage on Saturday, I'm very eager to see how that goes, because generally these scrimmages, once they get going, live, 11 on 11, simulated game scenario, that's where we kind of start to get a clue as to what we're actually dealing with and what kind of team Oklahoma's going to be fielding in 2025. We won't learn it all, but no doubt that's going to be worth keeping up with. And we will keep you up to date at OUinsider.com, certainly, and no doubt some of those conversations will transpose over here to the radio. But Grayson, some very critical visits this week for Oklahoma with some key defensive targets in the 2026 and 2027 classes. Cooper Witten, Jason's kid, was on campus Tuesday, taking in the sights at Oklahoma. And the Sooners are really, really well-positioned, shockingly well-positioned there. I think in large part due to the fact that they were his first scholarship offer and that his dad happens to be, quite naturally, great friends with DeMarco Murray, given that they were NFL teammates for many years. So, you got that. You got Braxton Lindsey, who was also in town Tuesday, the outstanding blue-chip linebacker in the 2026 class out of Rogers, Arkansas. You got the Jandro brothers, Bo and Nico, showing up this weekend, as well as Salesi Moa, the 4-star safety out of the state of Utah. All in all, Grayson, I look at that visitor list, and we don't even have to go beyond that for this week. Those are 5 of my absolute favorite players on the what would you call it? The target sheet right now for Oklahoma.
I've expressed how much I would love for the Jandros to be here.
Mm-hmm.
I love them. Cooper Witten is interesting to me because that's one that's kind of fallen off just out of my mind because we haven't talked about him too much.
Yeah, and he's 2027, so he's a year younger than these other guys too.
Exactly. So we still have a way to go with him. But he's 2027 kid that's 6'2", 210. It's like how? And by the way, play safety, can play linebacker, really, really good. To me, Cooper Witten and Nico Jandro, very similar players. Jandro's a little bit smaller and probably doesn't have the ability to play linebacker, but both could project in at that cheetah position. And here's my read on a lot of these defensive visits. Brent Venables and this staff likes guys that they can move around as chess pieces. Come 2027, I think more so than 2024 and 2025, you can see more players where you have no idea where the hell they're going to be. And I think that's going to make them very, very hard to game plan for. You're going to have guys that can play safety that can come down to the box. You're going to have linebackers that have such positional versatility that they won't be liabilities in coverage against certain people. So I think it's really exciting when I break down the film and when I look at the offer sheet, when I look at the guys that Oklahoma's in good position with. 2027 could be a very interesting composition of defenders, linebacker, and secondary. That's my read on it right now. It's an intriguing time, to say the least.
I'll tell you, man. My introduction to Cooper Witten was at OU's camp last summer, one of their camp sessions in mid-June. And, you walk out there, and there are so many kids that show up to these camps because they're not invite only, they're open registration. So anybody can register as long as you pay the entrance fee to camp at Oklahoma. And so you're dealing with hundreds of kids across the position groups that are out there camping with the OU staff on any given day. I think last year they did 5 open camp sessions over the span of 2 weeks. And so, every single day that there's camp, you're just showing up hoping you recognize some guys. Because if there are guys you don't recognize that look good and that are showing out, you got to figure out who they are, which can be easier said than done in those settings. And so you're looking first and foremost for guys that you recognize, and then you're just looking for guys who jump out at you. And generally, this is just how it is. you see a white kid in the cornerback group, you're not going to give him a second thought, right? That's it. That's kind of how it goes. And so,
Yeah.
for the first, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes that they're out there running one-on-ones between the wide receivers and the corner group, not really paying attention to this white kid. And then at a certain point, it becomes apparent that, oh, wait, shoot, like this kid's locking everybody down. This white kid is putting the clamps on basically anybody he lines up against. Should probably figure out who he is. Man, who is this kid? Oh, that's Jason Witten's son. Okay, this all makes much more sense now. Because he's out there playing cornerback, going up against nationally ranked blue-chip wide receivers, of which there were several that day, and he's locking them all down. I don't think anybody caught a pass on Cooper Witten that day. And by the end of the camp, he's got his first offer from Oklahoma, courtesy of Zach Alley, which in and of itself is an interesting wrinkle, right? Because you would think
Just a little bit.
with Zach Alley departing the staff in December, that would set Oklahoma back a little bit in the recruitment of Cooper Witten. No such thing. And again, having DeMarco Murray there certainly helps because the relationship between Witten and Murray, it goes back almost 15 years at this point.
Let me ask you this. So we just got off the whole Caden Jones thing about his dad having played at Oklahoma. What's the feeling on Tennessee with Cooper Witten, given that that's where his pops played?
Look, you obviously never want to write off the legacy school.
Right.
And so I don't want to do that. But from everything I've been told, yeah, Tennessee is in there, but they're not in there any more than any other school. And that Cooper's going to have his own process that's not going to be influenced at all by his dad's journey. And from everything I've been able to gather, Oklahoma's in the best spot for Cooper right now. A lot of time for that to change, obviously. A lot of time. But Oklahoma has laid a good early foundation in his recruitment.
I like that. I like that. Cooper DeJean, man, he successfully started the revolution that Marquette King was trying to start at punter. That didn't last very long. It was him and Presley Harvin, and neither of them are in the league anymore.
What happened to Presley Harvin?
Is he still?
That was a chunky punter, right?
Yeah.
He's a big boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cooper DeJean, baby.
Cooper DeJean, whatever
Cooper
he
DeJean
started.
and Riley Moss.
This seems like it's going to stick, man.
Maybe Cooper Witten should go to Iowa.
Oh, man. You know he's going to play corner if he goes to Iowa at that point.
A Kansas listener says, everyone wants to go against the white kid in the cornerback group. Yeah, and that's kind of how it was. You know?
I mean, that's how it was with me growing up playing basketball. Summer ball comes along, summer ball AAU comes along, and you're guarded by the white kid. You're like, hey,
here we go.
Give me this, and everybody get out the way.
Pretty much.
Every once in a while, one of them sneaks up on you, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, Cooper Witten got a little bit of that Austin Reeves sauce. What podcast was that recently where Austin Reeves was talking about that very experience of being the white kid in AAU?
That was on JJ Redick's podcast.
Oh, was it?
From like a year and a half, almost 2 years ago.
Okay, so it wasn't recently then?
No, it just recently resurfaced.
Oh, okay, gotcha. A 918 listener on the text line asks, Parker, why do you think it is that Sooner fans aren't more upset about the loss of KD Jones? Well, I'll be honest. I am somewhat surprised that there hasn't been more blowback to this point. But as that listener points out, he was on the field celebrating after OU beat Bama, and Oklahoma State wasn't even on his top 12 list a couple months ago. I mean, again, to borrow a phrase from Mike Gundy, Oklahoma State went full thud after Caden Jones. And it worked out. And, ultimately, I think the OU fan base understands that these days, in the recruiting process, money is obviously a hugely significant factor in 80 to 90% of cases. And I think there's a pretty solid understanding right now that Oklahoma State was willing to cut a larger check for Caden Jones' services. more power to him, right? And I think even just from a business standpoint, it makes a lot of sense that Caden Jones would be comfortable at Oklahoma State, because the one thing Oklahoma State's going to do is feature him in that backfield. They're going to give him the chance to be a feature back. That has not really been a common thread at Oklahoma under DeMarco Murray. And so if you're looking to be a 1,000-yard, 200-carry type of guy at your next destination, and oh, by the way, you can make a pretty substantial chunk of money in the process, then yeah, you know what? Oklahoma State makes a lot of sense for Caden Jones. It makes a lot of sense. Great kid, made his own decision, independent from his dad, independent from the legacy aspect. I commend him for it. And I do think, as I mentioned in the 1 o'clock hour, it was cool. I mean, all loyalties aside, it was cool to see Kejuan so genuinely stoked for his kid at his commitment ceremony yesterday.
I agree.
Yeah.
I was, because that was going to be, once we had come to the conclusion that it's probably going to be Oklahoma State, I was like, I wonder what his dad's going to be like. And you saw his dad turn to the camera like a little bit and give that little half smile and then start clapping. I was like, that's cool.
And to be clear, I don't think there are going to be any like lingering hard feelings between the Joneses and Oklahoma. This is business, and that's kind of where it starts and stops, right? Every single time I've ever talked to Caden Jones about Oklahoma, he always refers to OU as us. Like he's grown up rooting for the Sooners. He's grown up steeped in OU tradition. That's not going to ebb away because he's an Oklahoma State Cowboy. Obviously, he and his family, they love Oklahoma State, and they're going to continue to love Oklahoma as well. Those two things don't have to be mutually exclusive.
And you think about what Oklahoma State has at their running back depth chart. It's Caden Jones, Rodney Fields, who was a freshman last year.
Yep.
He looked good in limited action, but we don't know what he's going to bring. And the other one's Caleb Hicks, who transferred from OU. So there's nothing there really that knocks your socks off. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if Caden Jones got, 125, 150 touches in his freshman year if things break a certain way.
It's very feasible. Very feasible. There's a 316 listener that said, what if Caden Jones gets beat out by Caleb Hicks? Well, you'd have to think next year when Caden Jones gets to town, Caleb Hicks at that point is going to be a redshirt junior. So he'll be, or should be by that point, the odds-on favorite to be the feature back at Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
So it's more of a question of, well, can Caden Jones beat out Caleb Hicks? But, they really value him up there. They're going to feature him. And that's another previously uncommitted prospect and a very talented one from within state lines that is off the board. Okay, keep filling it up on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439. Let's hit an opening timeout. We will return with more OU football and recruiting talk here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. You're listening to Locked In.
Are you in need of purchasing your own health insurance? Are you turning 65 and confused about Medicare? Are you an employer looking at offering benefits to your staff? Call the agents at Allison Insurance. They'll sort through the confusion. They're not captive to just one company, and they'll get the best option for you. Don't get frustrated. Call Allison Insurance at 800-580-5587 or 745-2968. Allison Insurance. They are the experts.
We all play a role in keeping our communities safe. Oklahoma is no stranger to attacks. It's now easier than ever. If you see something, say something. The free and anonymous Protect OK app allows instant reporting of suspicious activity, both in schools and the community. You can help keep your family and friends safe.
Protect OK.
Protect OK.
Protect OK.
Protect OK.
Download the Protect OK app today in the Apple App or Google Play stores. Funded by the Oklahoma Office of Homeland Security.
Don't miss out on OKC's hottest entertainment at the Showplace Theater with acts like Boys to Men, April 18th. America, April 26th. Patti LaBelle, May 2nd. And Scotty McCreery, May 10th. Riverwind is OKC's favorite casino experience.
The Ref is the home of Sooner fans and is once again your home for chaos. Every game-changing hit.
Long fly ball to left. Track. Whoa. Gone.
one. Every strikeout.
Got him.
Swinging. Every defensive gem.
He caught it. He caught it.
Every game. All year. The Ref has you covered.
Catch Sooner Baseball as they visit the Alabama Crimson Tide this Friday at 6, Saturday at noon, and Sunday at 1 on the Ref and the K-Ref app.
Hi Norman, it's DJ Newsom with Alliance Bank, your community-driven, friendly neighborhood bank. Whether you're a budding entrepreneur, lead a nonprofit organization, or just someone seeking a better banking experience, we've got you covered. From business to personal banking, we tailor our services to suit everyone's needs. We believe in making banking easy and enjoyable. Visit our Norman location or call us today at 405-286-5750. Alliance Bank, banking tailored to your needs. Member FDIC.
Whether you're celebrating a special occasion, desire a great postgame, or after-work dining experience, the Ranch Steakhouse is the winning choice. At Ranch Steakhouse, we're grilling up the best USDA prime steaks in Oklahoma. Juicy, flavorful, and cooked to perfection. Pair that with an unbeatable atmosphere, a killer drink selection, and a wine list of over 400 personally curated bottles. Whether you're toasting the game or winding down after a big day, Ranch Steakhouse is where champions eat.
Hey, all you electricians out there. Are you unhappy with your job? Ever feel like some employers see you as just a name on a time card instead of a human being? Well, at Wade Electric, they're a third-generation family-owned company serving the Norman and Oklahoma City area for over 50 years. They value their employees and want to help them succeed and enjoy their career in the electrical field. If you are unsatisfied with your current situation and are ready to make a change, call Wade Electric at 405-329-1940 to hear about their benefits and learn how to join the team.
Come shop Eskridge Honda's full inventory at our beautiful new location. Right now, get 0% for a full 72 months on select Honda SUVs in stock. And for every vehicle purchased in March, we'll donate $100 to Toby Keith's OK Kids Corral. That's 0% interest and a great cause. Now conveniently located at 89th and I-35 or online at eskridgehonda.com.
0% for 72 months on 2024 Honda Prologue EX two-wheel drive through AHF ends 4125.
Oh man, I'm so glad I've never had to be involved in a lawsuit. Please, no one ever sue me because I just don't want any of this nonsense. And it is nonsense. I don't know if you saw this, Grayson. Per Ross Dellinger, outstanding national college football reporter for Yahoo Sports. Former Tennessee coach Jeremy Pruitt has sued the NCAA in DeKalb County, Alabama, claiming that the association conspired with Tennessee to make him the sacrificial lamb for rules violations resulting in his firing from Tennessee and a 6-year show cause. Here's the kicker. He's claiming $100 million in lost wages. Okay.
What?
Are we for real with this? Look, like, and as I read through all of the content of this lawsuit, at least what's been posted here on Twitter from Ross. Yeah, okay, Jeremy's probably going to win this lawsuit against the NCAA. The NCAA loses every lawsuit anyway, pretty much. But, like, looking through all of this, it's very, very clear. Yep, Jeremy's got a case here. But be that as it may, Jeremy Pruitt, you are not a $100 million football coach. How many $100 million football coaches are there out there?
Well, I mean, also, if you think about it, how much was Jeremy Pruitt making at Tennessee?
It couldn't have been more than like
$7 million, $8 million?
Man, I don't even think it was that much.
Okay, so based on that potential, just that conservative math, let's just set it conservatively at 5. It'd take you 20 years to get to $100 million. What is he talking about here? Now, I haven't read through this deposition, so maybe he does have a case. I'll certainly read through it, but how do we get to the $100 million thing? That's the weird part of all this to me, is how did he get to that figure?
Jeremy Pruitt's salary at Tennessee was $3.8 million. So he's claiming that the university cost him
roughly 30
over
years.
a quarter century of work at what was then his salary figure. Tommy on the text line says, "Sir, I am representing Jeremy Pruitt. Please refrain from degrading my client. We looked at several issues, and that's how we came up with that number." Listen, I'm not degrading Jeremy Pruitt. You know what? To be fair, if I was Jeremy Pruitt and I had cause for a suit against the NCAA, I'd probably ask for 9 figures too, because the NCAA is absolutely hamstrung in any court matter these days. But really, like, there's no way you actually believe that scandal cost you $100 million.
Zach from Guthrie, that's just what the attorneys tell them to sue for, so they can try to settle for at least half of that and still get more than what he should get in reality. Yeah, I have no idea how this kind of process works.
Yeah, again, I've never been involved in a lawsuit. Hope I never will. Chris from Knoxville says, this is a guy who didn't know what asparagus was at one point. Wait, what? Are we referring to Pruitt here? I must have missed this.
Yeah, I didn't know this. Yeah, somebody else just said on the 405, do yourself a favor and Google Jeremy Pruitt asparagus on YouTube.
No way. No way. The man didn't know what asparagus was? I mean, are we dealing with like an Al Michaels type of deal where he just doesn't eat vegetables under any circumstances? Okay, here it is. I found a story from USA Today. In a famous clip, Pruitt was eating at a restaurant, and he responded to a plate of asparagus by saying, "I ain't never heard of that. I ain't never heard of that." Where did he grow up?
Yeah.
Is he a Tennessee guy?
Yeah,
We're going deep in the Jeremy Pruitt rabbit hole now.
I'll try to find the clip during our next break.
He's from Alabama. Okay. He's from Alabama.
I mean, I would assume
still, like, you would think asparagus is part of the...
It's kind of a southern thing.
Yeah, it really is. Brad from Mustang says, Pruitt, but we will settle for a carton of Pall Malls and a 30-pack of Natty Light. By the way, Jeremy Pruitt was 2-16 in the SEC during his time at Tennessee. 2-16.
And he thought he was worth $100 million. That's incredible, man. Kyle from Salisaw, please find that clip and play it. Yes, I will find it during the break.
Here's an interesting question as we get back to our actual subject matter. The Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line again is 405-651-3439. A 405 listener asked, Parker, do you think the Caden Jones commitment is firm? He mentioned that he had been committed to both Kansas and Louisville previously. No, I think you misunderstood him. He said at one point in his mind he was planning on committing to Kansas or planning on committing to Louisville. And then by the end of it, it was Oklahoma State. I mean, to answer your question, I'm not going to accuse any kid of making a decision publicly that they intend to go back on later on in the process. But, like, I can certainly see a world where in, like, September or October, let's say he's having a standout senior season at Jenks, and all of a sudden he looks like a guy that's worth a lot more money than you might have thought initially. I mean, again, the kid and the family love the University of Oklahoma. That's not going to go away. I don't think it's at all out of the realm of possibility that at some point down the line, OU and Caden Jones could rekindle things. But I also don't think it's something you should count on. I almost liken it to Nate Roberts a year ago, right? Where the whole conversation surrounding Nate Roberts, my whole standpoint on Nate Roberts was, could it happen? Sure. Is it something that you should regard as a certainty or even a likelihood? No. Just allow yourself to be pleasantly surprised if it happens. It's kind of how I look at it.
Roger in L.A., Pruitt and Brent Venables both with 2 wins in conference.
Hey, Roger in L.A., keep in mind, Jeremy Pruitt did that over 2 seasons at Tennessee. He had 2 SEC wins in 2 seasons, which, by the way, now that I think back to it, I guess those were the Pruitt years, or maybe that was year 1 of Heupel. I can't recall. I don't know if I've ever seen worse offensive football at the Power 4 level than the Tennessee teams of that era. It was Jarrett Garantano playing quarterback.
Yes.
And it was miserable to watch. It was like watching a high school offense try and compete with a Power 4 defense.
It was miserable. It's terrible.
It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. There's a 405 listener that said, worked with him at Georgia. Worst human I've ever come across. He can eat. No, I'm not finishing that.
Y'all can figure it out.
Yeah, wow. So you worked with him at Georgia? I'm very intrigued. First-hand experience with Jeremy Pruitt. Interesting. Okay. Greg from Lawton says, think endorsements, residual income, and possibly even compound interest lost. $100 million is no doubt excessive, but a starting point nonetheless. Probably true, Greg. Probably true. Alex from Manford says, Parker, I just sent you the video via Twitter DM. The video of Jeremy Pruitt saying he ain't never heard of asparagus.
I was about to say, we might want to specify what that video is.
Oh, a CJ Sooner in Florida says, OU fans with Caden Jones, and attached is a gif of Stephen A. Smith saying, I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care. Yeah, well, at this point, I think it's just a question of where does Oklahoma go from here at running back, and I'm going to be real interested to see what the next moves are for DeMarco Murray because, look, Grayson, there are at least 3 running backs on this roster right now that will not be back in 2026.
Mm-hmm.
Can promise you that. Can promise you there are at least 3 running backs on the roster right now that are not here next season. And so if you're making plans for next season and you only have one real viable target on the board right now in Rylan Morris, who is, as we know, committed to another school right now. He is committed to Baylor. Well, then you got to either expand the board, you got to ramp things up with one of the guys like maybe a Brian Bonner out of California that you've offered but haven't really been a serious consideration for, or you just got to be content to play the portal game at running back, which, as we discussed yesterday, is probably not the way you want to go if you can avoid it, because you're not going to find many difference makers in the portal at running back.
Mm-mm.
We all thought, like, remember after the 2023 season when we all kind of figured, okay, Sam Franklin, that's about as good as you can hope for at running back. And what has Sam Franklin done at Oklahoma?
Not a whole lot of anything.
Correct. He came from the FCS ranks. He was a stud at Tennessee Martin. Had something like 1,300 rushing yards in 2023. And so, if you took a look back at that portal class of running backs, you would have figured, okay, Sam Franklin is probably one of the safer bets that there is on the market. I think maybe Trevor Etienne, but like everybody knew he was going to Georgia as soon as he got in the portal. And so of guys that were actually legitimately available, Sam Franklin was a guy. I mean, I remember other fan bases that were bummed out something fierce that they did not get Sam Franklin and that he went to Oklahoma. So that just goes to show you what you're typically dealing with in the portal at that position. A whole lot of depth pieces. Not a whole lot of studs.
You're not going to find Giovanni Gibson at the running back position.
No.
That's just not going to happen.
Oklahoma was very fortunate in 2021 to land Eric Gray via the portal. That's almost without question the best transfer running back that Oklahoma has been able to land in a long, long, long time.
So let me ask you this, Parker. You mentioned where Oklahoma could potentially go to solve this running back conundrum now with Jones and with Hatton off the board, and Rylan Morris, your third option, already committed somewhere else. Where have they gone? What are they doing, to your knowledge, right now, in light of this situation?
I mean, to my knowledge, they're just chilling for the moment. Going back to last week's conversation surrounding Hatton and the battle between Oklahoma and Texas A&M, they're going to continue to recruit Hatton. They're going to play the long game with Hatton. I don't know what their plans are with Caden Jones. I don't know if they're going to continue to maintain that relationship in like a steady recruiting sort of sense as opposed to just checking in every now and again. But I know they're going to continue to recruit Jonathan Hatton. And as far as the rest of the group, the rest of the available running backs in the 2026 class, there are a lot of the top dudes that are already off the board, and there are a lot of guys that Oklahoma has offered that have zeroed in on other schools. And again, going back to our conversation from last week surrounding Jim Nagy and the philosophy of recruiting running backs now at the University of Oklahoma, I don't know that Oklahoma's necessarily going to be willing to pony up the requisite money to put themselves all of a sudden right back in consideration with some of the better running backs in the 2026 class that they've offered. So, again, like, you better hope Jim Nagy and Taylor Regg can go find you the next Ashton Genty, which I don't doubt there's a running back out there somewhere that's flying under the radar that's worth the scholarship. It's just a matter of identifying him.
Right. Do you think the days – basically what I'm asking, do you think this is a trend? Do you think the days of Oklahoma realistically landing those special high school talents at the running back position are done?
No, I don't think they're done, but I think they're going to be scarcer. I think additions like that are going to be fewer and far between, at least at the time, right? There are guys that you consider big wins on signing day, and then there are guys that you consider big wins on senior day.
Man, that's a word right there.
How about that?
Take us to break.
That was just kind of I just kind of pulled that one out. That wasn't even scripted. That just kind of happened upon me.
Go ahead, Reverend Thune.
Yeah. But, you know, the guys that you consider to be big wins on signing day, they may or may not pan out.
It's fair.
The guys you want to get and the guys that aren't necessarily considered wins on signing day in every case are the guys that are considered wins on senior day. And I will take us to break on that note, and we'll come back and keep discussing. 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. Again, 651-3439. Show today brought to you by Dorsey Jones Buick GMC in El Reno. Great sales staff out there, phenomenal service advisors. Obviously, they sell Buicks and GMCs, which are some of the most reliable vehicles on the market. And they have half-price oil changes on Saturdays. That's a heck of a deal, especially these days. So get on out there to Dorsey Jones Buick GMC in El Reno and keep your radio dial right where it is. Stay with us. We'll be back on the other side here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Do you eat, sleep, and breathe Sooner football? We do too. This is The Ref, home of Sooner fans.
Ever wonder why someone would go to the ends of the earth and leap into the unknown? Maybe a better question is, what are you waiting for? Pacifico is brewed for those who follow their own path. That's living life anchors up.
Fowler Automotive is proud to be a part of your community, where our passion and values lie far beyond the showroom. We believe that families, sports, art, and culture are at the heart of every thriving community, and it's important to us that we help build the communities that our dealerships call home. Stop by any of our 6 Oklahoma dealerships to see the Fowler standard hard at work. We pride ourselves on being friendly, helpful, honest, and fair. This is what drives us every day. Fowler Automotive, a proud partner of OU Athletics.
Do you love sports and looking for a way to stay active? What's up? It's Grayson Singleton, and the fastest growing sport in America has a new home here in Norman. Hey Pickle Pickle is now open with 5 state-of-the-art indoor courts. Hey Pickle Pickle is perfect for you regardless of your level of experience. With food to keep you fueled up while you play, you can also book your courts online today at heypicklefun.com or visit them in person, located just west of Hayday off of Indian Hills in Norman. Hey Pickle Pickle is open each day, 7 days a week at 9 a.m., where fun meets fitness.
Hey, Sooner fans, we've got you covered. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
No, we don't get a break.
This is the home of Sooner fans.
The Ref Sports Radio Network.
Are you looking to elevate your golf game in 2025? Westwood Golf Course in Norman can help. Now's the time to get your annual memberships, and they're open 7 days a week. The 50th Annual Westwood Invitational is July 4th, 5th, and 6th, so be sure to register early this year. Play after 2 p.m. for just $28 or after 5 p.m. for just $23. You can always book your tee time at westwoodparkgolf.com, and don't forget to visit the Turn Grill inside Westwood, one of the local gyms in Norman.
Serving in Afghanistan, I was shot in the head by sniper fire. I was given a 5% chance to live. I'm Adam Alexander, and I'm a veteran. Today, I visit classrooms and share my story. I tell kids that with a little help and a lot of work, that you can overcome any challenge.
DAV helps veterans like Adam get the benefits they've earned. They help more than 1 million veterans every year.
My victory is being there for the next generation.
Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
If you love them enough to listen to them practice the same song on tuba,
please be done.
Over and over and over and over and over, then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Sounds good, honey.
Check today at NHTSA.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Schumacher Law Group, when experience matters. Tracy Schumacher is a former prosecutor and former district judge. Whether it's a probate challenge, criminal charges, or contentious divorce proceedings, experience matters. The attorneys at Schumacher Law Group provide compassionate, knowledgeable advice, all while fighting for your best interests. Find Schumacher Law Group online at lawgroupok.com or call 405-701-1882. Hometown lawyers ready to fight for you when experience matters.
We tend not to think about right now, but right now in front of us is victory over cancer. Right now, cancer research funded by the V Foundation is leading to better treatments and saving lives. When you give to the V Foundation, 100% of your donation goes directly to game-changing cancer research. Victory over cancer is there for the taking by you. Donate at V.org, because today's cancer research is tomorrow's victory.
Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
Oh, Chris from Knoxville on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line chimed in at 405-651-3439 and said, imagine starting college at Tennessee in 2016. You had to endure the end of Butch Jones and Jeremy Pruitt. With that said, I had to go through Derek Dooley's last season and the start of the Butch era. Chris from Knoxville, explain to me, if you would, why you are an Oklahoma fan. Or how you came to be an Oklahoma fan. I'm very curious of the backstory here because obviously you're well acquainted with Tennessee. You are in Knoxville, and yet you are a regular here on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line on the home of Sooner fans, which we are glad for, but I'm more just genuinely curious why or how did the Oklahoma affiliation originate? Santa John asked, Parker, please name 3 running backs who will not be on the team come fall. Well, I should clarify. I said next fall. I believe there are 3 running backs who are absolutely not on the team in 2026. At minimum, there are 2 because Javonte Barnes and Sam Franklin are graduating. So, do some math. If you have 1 transfer not named Sam Franklin or Javonte Barnes, and I have a guy in mind, but it might not be that guy. It just feels like something's got to give there, one way or another, at some point. Then you're dealing with at least 3 spots, 3 scholarships that are unaccounted for at the running back position come the 2026 season. So Oklahoma's been planning on taking 2 running backs. They would like to take 2 running backs, but 2 of the running backs that they prioritized for a long, long time, and Jonathan Hatton and Caden Jones, and of course Hatton was committed to Oklahoma for a long time as well, those 2 guys are now off the board to other programs. Hatton to Texas A&M, Caden Jones to Oklahoma State. A 405 listener says USC has done a good job recruiting transfer portal running backs for sure. I mean, I get I'm trying to think who has USC gotten out of the transfer portal in recent years at running back. I know they got Travis Dye from Oregon for what that was worth. I guess he had a decent year in 2023 for the Trojans, but again, that kind of underscores the problem. And this is, I forget who it was. Was it Daniel Jeremiah that during the NFL Combine was like, hey, look, you shouldn't be drafting a running back with a high draft pick unless the rest of your team is rock solid across the board, and that's kind of your one missing piece. You don't build a team around a running back. You use a good running back to kind of complete your offense. And I think the same is true in college football, right? Like, how many successful championship caliber programs have an offense that is built around a running back, as opposed to they have a really, really good running back that kind of fills in the gaps for their offense?
I mean, Alabama did it at the beginning of the 2010s a lot. Now we're talking about a very, very, very different world.
Yes, we are.
I mean, but you think about those Mark Ingram teams, Trent Richardson, Derrick Henry. Those are the first ones that come to mind. But no, other than that, I think you're exactly right. I mean, just look at what happened when the Giants took Saquon Barkley. They were going to build that team around him, and that sputtered on its face really fast. But the Eagles used him to complete everything.
Mm-hmm.
And look what happened.
And my point there, if we're transposing back to USC, my point is that you can go grab a transfer portal running back, but if you don't have things shored up everywhere else, he's really not going to matter a whole heck of a lot, at least in the win-loss column for your team.
Especially if he's a miniature running back, too, like Dye was.
Yukon Bob asks, Parker, what have you heard about Torrey Blaylock? Haven't heard anything? Torrey Blaylock, he's been a little bit banged up. Nothing severe, nothing significant, but he's been a little bit banged up throughout the spring. He's had to sit out a few practices, but as of last I saw him with my own two eyes, which was on Tuesday during the open practice session, he was out there going through the motions with all the running backs completely uninhibited. He's a guy that, I think he redshirts, and that's fine, Most running backs have at Oklahoma, historically speaking. The guys that get on the field as true freshmen, they tend to be pretty few and far between. Javonte Barnes did it in 2022. Obviously, Taylor Tatum was able to do it last year until he started fumbling. And Xavier Robinson was kind of out of necessity that they had to, deploy him. They had to break the emergency glass to turn to Xavier Robinson. But the plan was to redshirt him until you couldn't afford to redshirt him anymore. So I'm under the impression that Torrey Blaylock's going to redshirt. And again, I think that's fine. His time will come. It won't be 2025. Adam from ATX points out Ohio State had two of their best running backs in the country, so they always had a horse in the game. And that's what Oklahoma has tried to build. That's what DeMarco Murray has tried to establish at Oklahoma, a system where you have two running backs that are three-down guys that you can toss in at any time, and they're going to be able to carry the ball, to block, and to run routes with equal aplomb. It felt for a while there like that's where things were headed with Javonte Barnes and Gavin Sawchuk, and it just hasn't panned out, at least not in that sense. Certainly Barnes and Sawchuk have had their moments, but their moments have only ever aligned for one game, and that was the Cheez-It Bowl against Florida State in 2022.
Yeah.
That's it.
And even to the Ohio State point, too, when they brought in Quinshon Judkins from Ole Miss, that team, can we say that team was built around running backs? I don't know. I mean, they had receivers out the wazoo and then a power arm, however accurate you view Will Howard. I mean, Quinshon Judkins was the icing on the cake that took that over the top.
There was, I think it's the same listener that keeps complaining every single time we bring up Oklahoma State. Why do you keep talking about Caden Jones going to Okie State? He wasn't going to OU anyway. We're talking about it because he was an OU target and is an OU legacy recruit.
Come on now,
this
man.
This is an OU football and recruiting show. We probably will not talk about Caden Jones for the foreseeable future after today, but his commitment to Oklahoma State yesterday is timely and newsworthy. Sooner Soldier says, Grayson.
Hey, buddy.
You are an OSU alum, but you work for the Ref.
Yeah.
The home of Sooner fans. So are you a Sooner fan?
Here's my answer to that. Parker, what shirt? You remember what hoodie I was wearing yesterday?
What hoodie were you wearing yesterday?
I was wearing a hoodie that says the home of Sooner fans.
Oh, that's right. It was the Ref hoodie. Yeah, there you go.
There's your answer.
He's a company man.
There's your answer.
It's not our job to be fans either. Not our job to be fans. It's your guys' job to be fans, and we appreciate all of you for it. It is our job to provide you coverage of the team as objectively as possible.
Now, speaking of being a fan, a texter in the 405 just texted in, huge crowd at Yankee Stadium for opening day, great day for baseball. Now, that is me as a fan because I have been going nuts here in this studio during our breaks because the Yankees have hit 2 home runs.
Oh, yeah, you're a Yankees guy, aren't you?
Yeah.
Ugh, what a tragedy that is.
You're a Dodgers fan from Nebraska.
And?
Your
Your point is what?
You're the one person I cannot get you-know-what from.
Listen. Here's my question to you. How do you deal with it when people accuse you of being a bandwagon since you're a Yankees fan?
I blame my parents.
Okay.
I didn't grow up with cable TV, so the only baseball I could ever watch as a kid was those Saturday night nationally televised games on Fox. You remember those?
I do. Yep.
So, circa 2009, 2010, what team was on that 2/3 of the weekends?
It was the Yankees.
I risked my case.
So you hopped on the bandwagon, huh?
I was 8. Okay.
Chris from OK, Oklahoma wants to know, kind of off subject, but what was the reason Lewis Carter transferred? Seemed like he was killing it on the field and getting more playing time. Just didn't make sense to me to transfer out. Okay, so here was the story on Lewis Carter, as I understand it. He was starting to get more playing time, yes. I guess in the bowl game, he played more than he ever had before, but that was because, they were trying to prep some guys for next year. There were some guys that got on the field in the bowl game that hadn't seen the field all year because, in a certain sense, they were trying to halfway turn the page to 2025. But for the most part, Lewis Carter had only played special teams through his first 2 seasons at Oklahoma. And that was because he was struggling to grasp the defense. He was struggling to grasp the defense, and obviously, if you cannot grasp Brent Venables' defense, Brent Venables is not going to put you on the field. And so that was limiting Lewis Carter's upside at Oklahoma. The fact, it's a complex scheme. We've discussed that. Everybody, I think, knows that is the reality. It's a very complex defensive scheme that Brent Venables runs, and it's especially demanding for linebackers. It takes a dude that's wired a certain way to play linebacker for Brent Venables. And that just wasn't Lewis Carter, at least not the early version of Lewis Carter, the freshman/sophomore version of Lewis Carter. Now, I will say this. They didn't want him to leave. They were hopeful that he would turn a corner cognitively this coming offseason and be ready to contribute in a big way as a junior. But his high school head coach is now on staff at UCF. Obviously, UCF had the allure of being close to home for him. He's a Florida kid, and he felt, quite understandably, that he'd be able to play a lot more at UCF than he could at Oklahoma. And so he transferred out. Again, they didn't want him to leave. They would have loved for him to stick around. Lewis Carter didn't see it that way.
Let me throw this onto the end of that conversation, too. A lot of times people grasp systems as they play in it, and I think sometimes part of the reason why you struggle to make that cognitive turn is because you're not on the field doing it. And that's something I played through with experience when I was playing. So, I think part of that is, he didn't get enough snaps to really be like, okay, now I'm in it, now I get it, that kind of thing. It's different than when you're going through it on the practice field and when you have to be all dialed into it on the game field. So maybe that had something to do with it as well.
Kyle from Sallisaw says, G. Swizzy, the turtleneck connoisseur, might be a cowboy, but he knows ball.
The turtleneck connoisseur.
Nick in Sepulpa says, don't forget Parker's from Nebraska and was a Nebraska fan until he graduated from Oklahoma. Well, in the words of Khalil the Caterpillar from VeggieTales, that is only half true. Yes, I am from Nebraska. No, at no point in my life was I a Nebraska fan.
Oh, man.
You are welcome to fact check this with literally anybody I grew up around because, believe me, they all were Nebraska fans.
Boomer Gooner says, Grayson, did you know you have a world-famous doppelganger? Google Bukayo Saka, the soccer player, who, you can look it up, Parker. It does kind of look like, same facial structure and everything.
I don't know how to spell this. Spell it for me.
Bukayo Saka.
Okay, let me see.
I can see it, Boomer Gooner.
It's kind of there.
He's a little bit darker than me.
It's kind of there. There's something of a parallel there. I can somewhat see it. The 580 listener said, LOL Veggie Tales. What a pull, Parker. Listen, I grew up on Veggie Tales. I'm a pastor's kid. Come on now.
You and I would be the only ones with VeggieTales pulls at this station.
Oh, for more OU football and recruiting talk and potentially more VeggieTales references, you're going to want to come back and jump back in with us tomorrow at 2 p.m. for another installment of Locked In. For now, we are done on this Thursday, but you shouldn't go anywhere because coming up on the other side, Teddy Lehman, the Buckus Award winner himself, and Machine Gun McComas take it away. They're going to have 3 more hours of sports talk to come on The Rush. This is The Ref.